Most people think that the digital dirt thesis is a branding phrase. It is not. It is a way of describing how value is actually created in modern infrastructure development. Digital dirt refers to land whose worth is determined less by what can be built on it and more by whether it can be powered, connected, and activated on a usable timeline. The misconception is that land value still flows from location and entitlement alone. In reality, value flows from infrastructure readiness and sequencing. By digital dirt, I mean land that is positioned within a specific infrastructure context. That context includes access to power at scale, proximity to transmission and substations, interconnection feasibility, fiber adjacency, and regulatory alignment. This is not theoretical. A parcel can be fully entitled and still be functionally useless for digital infrastructure if these conditions are not met. Digital dirt is not about acreage or zoning. It is about whether the land can participate in a larger system without delay. What actually constrains decisions is not demand for compute or availability of capital. It is infrastructure friction. Power capacity is rationed through planning processes that operate on multi-year cycles. Interconnection is governed by queues and studies that developers do not control. Transmission upgrades depend on regional priorities and approvals unrelated to any single site. These constraints determine which land becomes valuable and which land stalls, regardless of how attractive it looks in a real estate model. The real choke points are controlled by institutions that do not behave like market actors. Utilities optimize for reliability and compliance, not speed. Grid operators prioritize system stability, not individual projects. Network providers design for redundancy and latency thresholds, not land arbitrage. These actors respond to rules and physics more than pricing signals. This is why digital dirt cannot be understood through traditional real estate intuition. Control over land does not equal control over outcomes. Incentives distort judgment at every step. Landowners price sites based on industrial comparables rather than infrastructure deliverability. Brokers emphasize size and zoning because those attributes are easy to market. Investors assume demand growth will force supply into place. Each assumption is reasonable in isolation. Together, they create a false sense of inevitability. The common belief is that infrastructure will arrive because the project makes sense. In practice, infrastructure arrives only when sequencing aligns with system capacity and planning cycles. The core contrast is simple. Traditional real estate treats land as the foundation of value. Digital infrastructure treats land as a dependent variable. The common assumption is that once land is controlled, the rest can be solved with capital and execution. The reality is that land becomes valuable only after infrastructure pathways are secured or credibly foreseeable. This is why smaller, less obvious sites can outperform larger, better located parcels. Timing and connectivity outweigh scale and visibility. The consequence of misunderstanding the digital dirt thesis is not failed construction. It is misallocated capital and lost time. Projects advance too far ahead of infrastructure certainty. Expectations harden before constraints are resolved. The mistake is not believing in digital infrastructure growth. The mistake is treating land as the lead actor rather than the supporting one. Digital dirt is about recognizing that in this market, land does not create value on its own. Infrastructure readiness does.